Thank you for joining us for another great service at First and LR. I'm honored that you have set aside part of your week to be with us. If you enjoy watching the service, you'll love it even more in person. We would love for you to come and spend a weekend in a service with us and introduce yourself in the guest center. You can learn more about service times and other ways to connect at firstandlr.com. I'm praying that today's message speaks to you, and I'm believing for God to do marvelous things in your life. Thanks for watching.
Cindy and I celebrated our 37th wedding anniversary in June. 37 years. It's hard to believe we've been married that long. It only seems like 36 years. We've experienced a lot of laughter and joy and fun along the way. We raised 2 sons, Tyler and Parker, added 2 daughters-in-law, Emily and Meredith, to the family. We celebrated the arrival of 2 grandchildren, Evie and Maverick. We've had the opportunity to share Jesus in many countries and cultures. We've eaten great meals. We've made lifelong friends. We've also learned a lot of lessons. We were living in Fargo, North Dakota, when Cindy discovered she was pregnant with Tyler. I had a lock-in on a Friday night. I was up all night with middle schoolers. Got home at 8 a.m., went to bed. She woke me up at 10 and said, "I'm pregnant." I looked at her and I said, "Will you still be pregnant in 3 more hours?" That was the wrong answer. That was a lesson. I've learned more lessons. We went to Lamaze class. That's, for those of you, they don't really do it anymore. Lamaze class was where the woman learned to breathe while she gave birth, which seems rather instinctual to me. And the guy learned to be her coach, which, if you're married, you know already that's a bad plan. So we go to these classes on Monday nights, and one week we were supposed to bring a focal point. And it's something that you can concentrate on instead of the pain. I brought a little TV. And I turned it on to Monday Night Football. And all of the other wannabe fathers gathered around our focal point. I was kicked out of Lamaze. I was expelled from Lamaze class. When Cindy went into labor, I was a kids pastor at the time, and things weren't progressing very fast. I mean, contractions were however many minutes apart. So I was like, nothing's happening here. This is monstrously boring. I'm gonna go ahead and go to church. And I'll wear this beeper, and you can let me know if it gets closer. That was another important lesson. Learned a lot of lessons. Like everyone else in 37 years, we've faced our share of crises. We've had financial crises. When we first got married, I was promised a raise. Instead, while on our honeymoon spending money, I was informed I'd taken a voluntary 15% pay cut. Parker had 3 surgeries his first 8 weeks of life while we were between insurance companies. We immediately accumulated thousands of dollars in debt. We've had health crises. Cindy faced kidney failure and kidney cancer. I had a crazy bout of heart issues and still deal with back trouble. We almost lost our daughter-in-law, Emily, after Evie was born. We've had a lot of crises in 37 years. Lightning struck our house. It took a year to get everything almost fixed. A tornado hit our neighborhood. Our youngest son, Parker, was trapped in a civil war in Sudan. Several times it looked like he wasn't going to make it. We're not the only ones. Everyone faces trouble and crisis. No one is immune. Today, as we study the story of Joseph, we look at a family in crisis. In case you missed the last few weeks, let me catch you up. Joseph was his father's favorite son, which made his brothers mad. Then Joseph had a dream where his brothers bowed down to him and foolishly shared that dream with his brothers, which made them more angry, so much so that they wanted to kill him. At the last moment, one of the brothers, Reuben, talked them out of murder, and so instead of killing him, they threw their brother in a well and then sold Joseph into slavery, where he was for years. Then several years in prison. Finally, because of his faithfulness through a miraculous series of circumstances, Joseph moved from prison to the palace and became the number 2 guy in the most powerful nation, Egypt. Joseph spent 7 years storing unbelievable amounts of food. When famine began, Joseph was the guy in charge of the world's largest food supply. In a crazy turn of events, Joseph's own brothers came to him asking for food so they and their families could survive. It's been so long, they didn't recognize their own brother. And Joseph didn't tell them who he was. He gave them grain, then put their money back in their sacks. But he also kept one of the brothers, told the rest to return with the youngest brother. They didn't really understand it, but Joseph was strategizing to get the whole family back together. And that's where we pick up the story. If you missed any of the messages, you can watch them online at firstnlr.com or on our YouTube channel, First NLR. Family was in a big crisis. They were starving. And now in the middle of that crisis, they had another crisis. One brother, Simeon, was in an Egyptian prison until they returned with the youngest brother, Benjamin. When they got back to their father, Jacob, in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened. They said, the man who's Lord over the land, they didn't know it was Joseph, spoke harshly to us, treated us as though we were spies. But we said to him, we're honest men, we're not spies. We were 12 brothers, sons of one father. One is no more, that would be Joseph. The youngest is with our father in Canaan. Then the man who is Lord over the land said to us, this is how I'll know whether you're honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take food for your starving households, go. But bring your youngest brother to me so I know you're not spies, but honest men. Then I'll give your brother back to you so you can trade in the land. As they were emptying their sacks, there in each man's sack was his pouch of silver. When they and their father saw the money pouches, they were frightened because they assumed they would now also be accused of stealing. And what follows is a master class in how not to manage a crisis. Their father Jacob said to them, you've deprived me of my children. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me. Well, now hold on. No one said Simeon was dead, and we know Joseph wasn't dead. But Jacob immediately assumed the worst. It never even entered his mind that God might be working in this situation. Well, he jumped to the worst possible conclusion. God was at work behind the scenes. Even in what appeared to be negative circumstances, God was working for Jacob and his family. When you know the end result, faith and trust is easy. But it's difficult to see the whole picture when you're in the middle of a crisis. You take one thing and you turn it into everything. The crisis takes up your entire field of view. Like this poster, it blocks everything. Of course it feels like everything is out of control and then nothing's going your way because you can't see it past it. You say things like, I never catch a break. Everyone's against me. Everything goes wrong. I'll never get ahead. There's no hope. Where is God when I need him? You assume the worst, and you ignore the possibility that God might be working in ways you can't see or imagine. You have to change your perspective instead of allowing the problem to dominate your attention. Take your eyes off the crisis, put your eyes on Jesus, and remember, God's still working. God can use delays, disappointments, and difficult circumstances to protect, bless, or position you for impact. Mary Grace reminded me of a story where a bad situation put her in the precise place to be used by God.
I was doing hospital visits one day at UAMS, and I could not find the floor of the person that I was going to be visiting. So I realized quickly that I needed to go down 2 floors. So I'm in the parking garage, I'm trying to turn around when I hear this crunch. And I quickly realized that I had backed into someone else's car. So I got out, I FaceTimed Pastor Rod, near tears. I said, "What do I need to do?" And he said, "You need to leave a note." So I left a note on their windshield. And as I was walking back to my car, a woman walked out of the elevator and she said, "Can I have a ride down to my minivan? It's 2 floors down." So I said, "Why not? Hop in." And as I'm driving down in the parking garage, I realized that this was the wife of the person that I was going to be visiting at the hospital. And it was a really cool moment where we got to share an awesome conversation, and I got to pray with her and pray for her husband. And I drove her to her minivan. And if I hadn't stopped to do the right thing that day, I don't think that I would have gotten the opportunity to meet her and pray with her.
God used a bad circumstance to put Mary Grace where he wanted her to be. Reuben said to his father, "You may put both of my sons to death if I don't bring your son back. Entrust into my care, I'll bring him back." But Jacob said, "My son will not go down there with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left." Now, hold on. Benjamin, the youngest son, was the only one left? Jacob said that to Reuben, who was also left. This is like if I said to Parker, "I don't know what I'd do if something happened to Tyler. He's everything to me. He is all I have." Or it's me saying to you, "I've really been struggling since that family left the church. They were the only good people we had left. Now all we have is a bunch of pathetic losers." I can't tell you how many times in counseling I've had someone look at me and say, "I have no one to talk to. No one cares." And I always say, "Now, you do realize I'm here right now listening, right?" I've had people get really mad and say, "No one checked on me. No one visited me." And I just always ask, now, when you say no one, you mean no one? Well, my connection class teacher called and came, and Pastor Timothy visited. Pastor Tyler called. Kathy Brockton called a couple times. Well, I thought you said no one. When you're in a crisis, you tend to exaggerate the negative and forget the positive. Recognize and resist that tendency. Don't lie to yourself. Don't make things worse than they are. Instead, in the middle of a crisis, count your blessings. Make the intentional decision to reframe your crisis by remembering the goodness of God. Our house got hit by lightning, but it didn't burn. Parker was stuck in Sudan, but God brought him safely home. Cindy had kidney cancer, but they caught it when it was super small. Emily almost died, but she's still here, and she's a wonderful mother to the best 2 grandchildren on the planet. They're better than yours. Count your blessings. If you have so much to be thankful for, remember all the ways God has protected and helped and blessed. Count your blessings. Chapter 43, verse 1, now the famine was still severe in the land. So when they'd eaten all the grain they brought from Egypt, which we don't know how much time had passed, but they were hungry again. The crisis is getting worse, still no rain, still no food. Their father said to them, "Go back, buy a little more food." But Judah said to him, "The man warned us solemnly, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother's with you. If you'll send our brother along with us, we'll go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we won't go down, because the man said, 'You won't see my face unless your brother's with you.'" Israel, that's Jacob, asked, "Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had another brother? You stupid sons, you should have lied." In a crisis, your character is revealed. I mean, it's already formed. But we find out who you are and what you're really like when the pressure's on. The principle is crisis doesn't create character, crisis reveals character. We find out who you really are. Jacob blamed his sons. It was their fault because they were honest and told Joseph they had another brother. In life, garbage happens, doesn't it? Sometimes it's garbage you create yourself. You lied to your parents, so you got grounded. You partied and slept in instead of going to class, so you flunked out and you lost your scholarship. You tried a controlled substance because you thought you could handle it, and you became an addict. You had an affair, and your marriage crumbled. When the garbage is yours, you understand that you need to take it out. You don't want it around anymore. You don't want other people to have any reminders of the mistakes you've made. You don't even want a hint of that stench in your life. So you made the mistake fast as you can. You get rid of it. But other times, garbage is handed to you by someone else. Someone treated you wrong in church. They cheated you. Someone hurt you. They said something you can't forget. She was a jerk. She was a hypocrite. And suddenly, you have trouble taking out the trash because after all, you didn't make that mess. It's their fault, not yours. They were in the wrong. You're the victim. There's no reason why you should have to clean up after them. And so you hang on to it. Some of you have been holding on to a sack of trash for so long that it's become your story. You've had it for years. And you're right, it shouldn't have happened. But how long are you going to hold on to it? How are you going to let that garbage stink up your life? They did wrong. That's not an excuse for you to do wrong. You can't change their action, but you can choose your response. You don't just hold on to it. You share it with others. Boy, you need to see my trash. Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this trash. Let me tell you about what happened here. Oh, I can tell you about that one. You keep blaming and keep holding on to the garbage. But you can choose to let it go, to get rid of it, and to get it out of your life. It's time to let go of the story. It's been your excuse for way too long. I know it may hurt, but I'm telling you there's a way out. When you blame others, you intend to shift responsibility to them, but that's not what happens. You're the one holding the bag of trash. You're the one who suffers. Don't give a story that kind of power. Don't blame others. Even in crisis, especially in crisis, take responsibility. Blaming others doesn't help you. Learn what you need to learn. In every crisis situation, God teaches new valuable lessons. And if you don't learn what you need to learn in this crisis, you'll find yourself in another one needing to learn the same lesson. Learn what you need to learn. This crisis prepares you for the next crisis, and grow where you need to grow. And through it all, remember, you are responsible for the position of your heart. You can't control what was done to you or what was said about you, but you can control the position of your heart. And the position of your heart should be pleasing to the Lord, regardless of what someone else does. You say, now, Rod, are you really saying I learn and grow in my crisis? Absolutely. You're there. You can't change that. You can't change it's happening, so why not learn and grow? Look again at Jacob's words. He said, why did you bring this trouble on me? Now, was Jacob the one in prison? Was he the one forced to leave his brother in Egypt? No, the brothers were. But he acted as if none of that mattered. It was all about him. It is so easy in a crisis to become selfish and self-focused. You get caught up in a pity party and forget about everyone around you. It's all about me. It's my hurt, my trouble, my pain, my loss. Me, me, me. Don't do it. Even when you're in a crisis, think about others. Taking the focus off yourself gives you perspective. There's something about caring for others that helps you fight off depression, discouragement, and despair. They replied, the man questioned us closely about ourselves and our family. Is your father still living, he asked us. Do you have another brother? We just answered his questions. How were we to know? He would say, bring your brother down here. Then Judah said to Israel, his father, send the boy, the youngest son, along with me, and we'll go at once, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I'll guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I don't bring him back to you, set him here before you. I'll bear all the blame before you all my life. As it is, if we hadn't delayed, we already could have gone and come back twice. Come on, Dad. We're dying here. We don't have food. We can't wait anymore. We have to do something. Then their father said to them, if it must be, do this. Put some of the best products of the land in your bags. Take them to the man as a gift. A little balm, a little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts, and tell you what, throw in some almonds. Take double the amount of silver with you, for you must return the silver that's put in the mouths of your sacks. Maybe it was a mistake. Take your brother also. Go back to the man at once. Joseph remembers leading the most powerful nation on earth. Jacob decided, I got an idea. I know what we'll do. This will win him over. Take him some honey and some pistachios. Let's go big, guys. Throw in some almonds, and then he'll treat us with mercy. That'll do it. There's nothing better than nuts and honey. And every ruler wants some honey-roasted pistachios. This is going to work. Jacob didn't ask God for help. Instead, he came up with a laughably foolish plan. Crisis reveals where you place your faith and trust. In Jacob's case, his faith and trust level were low. What is crisis going to reveal in you? Will it reveal a steady, confident trust in the Lord, or will it create panic, doubt, and confusion? Will you trust in God's plan, or will you try to figure out things and handle it on your own? It happens so often in crisis. You feel the pressure to do something, so you just do anything. And you come up with a plan to handle it by yourself. It's one of the saddest things I see. The very person whose disobedience and crummy plan got them in the crisis is now the one with a plan to get out of it. The person whose lack of wisdom created the situation now thinks they have more than enough wisdom to solve it. And from the outside looking in, it looks foolish, doesn't it? You disobey God with your money, you keep it for yourself, feed your greed. Then when the inevitable happens and everything craters, you come up with a plan to manage your finances. And most of the time when you do that, really, you assign someone else the responsibility to bail you out. You dishonor God in your relationships, violate his laws, make a mess of things, but you've got a plan for it. Most of the time with another unhealthy relationship. You abuse alcohol or drugs. When you hit rock bottom, you think you're strong and smart enough to quit. The same person who got addicted now knows how to get unaddicted. I don't need God. I don't need help. I sure don't need forever free. I'm not one of those people. I can handle this on my own. I got a plan. You do it, you go to recovery, and you do the same thing. You get about 4 weeks in, you're like, I don't need this. I got this. I can handle this by myself. Instead of coming up with a disastrous plan or another disastrous plan, place your trust in God. Now, understand that's easier said than done. Here's the key. Build that deep faith and trust before the crisis. If you wait till the crisis, it's too late. You better build that faith and trust now. Will crisis come and bad things happen? Yes, as long as we live in this world, Jesus told us it would. It's not a surprise. Will there be days when you feel like it's over? There will. Will you find yourself in situations and circumstances you never expected, you don't like, and you didn't sign up for? Yes. And when that happens, place your trust in God, because He will come through. He has never failed, and He will never fail. You can trust Him. Trust your plan or trust His plan.
What an incredible service. Thank you for joining us and being a part of our church family. If you have any questions about today's service, if you need prayer, or if you just want to learn more about First NLR, go to firstnlr.com or follow us on social media at First NLR. Our goal is for you to be a lifelong follower of Jesus. And I pray that the Lord would bless and guide you as you obediently follow what He has for you and your family. We look forward to connecting with you.
I remember walking in and seeing my father sobbing on the floor. My mother was near the bed crying and screaming, "He's gone." I couldn't feel God anymore. I questioned my own existence.
Like Dee Dee, we all face really tough situations. But even in life's most challenging circumstances, Jesus can turn our mourning into dancing and our sorrow into joy. Join me on Friday, September 6th for our ladies' event called Joy. You'll hear the stories of 3 incredible women in our church who have experienced joy, even when life was difficult. The night will be filled with meaningful moments, prayer and worship, and will end with a celebration of joy. Mark your calendars for Friday, September 6th. Doors open at 6 p.m. and service starts at 7 p.m. Tickets are available today in the main lobby or at firstnlr.com/wild. And get a free t-shirt with the purchase of each ticket.